quite. There we go.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Road to a Million. Get a very special guest this week for the 555 Millionaire Maker on DK. Probably the best 3 to 5 lineup builder in DFS, in my opinion. JSU Rab. JSU, how's it going, bud?
I mean, I thought.
Anyways, Bobby.
Yeah,
Gomes.
Rob.
If I did something good in sports,
Bobby.
as a kid,
I like Bobby.
I don't know if I like that. You know, he just singled us out. He said we're not as good friends because we don't call him Rob. So I don't know if I like the way this is starting off.
I might just leave this studio right now. John,
we need you. I have a toothache. John has a toothache. We need this third person filling up the airwaves. And also, we need those takes from you for this big Millie. Not everyone's going to be able to max this, right? It's $555. Probably you might throw 3 lineups in there. JSU's your guy. You want to listen to his takes. Jon Kelly as well, like also great and higher entry stuff. Like love his takes as well. John, want to talk about like what you're doing, where you're at right now?
Yeah. So, sure.
He didn't go with Johnny AirPods or JSU. Okay, so all right.
Screwed us both up. But John,
I know we gotta get back on track here. Yeah, if you guys are into UFC content, I do all my UFC stuff over at FTN Daily and FTNBets.com. All of it's completely free now, so definitely check that out if you're into UFC. Have a big UFC 266 card this weekend. And I'm doing a lot of stuff on my YouTube now at Jon Kelly DFS. That's kind of where my focus is, just trying to grow my YouTube channel. So I definitely appreciate it if you like that type of stuff. But now we'll kick it over to Johnny AirPods to see what he's been up to.
Yeah, there we go. Johnny AirPods. Now we're talking. Yeah, you can find all my content over at Run Pure Sports. Pretty much talking. I mean, we still got baseball content. We got MMA. Tennis, soccer, NFL, you name it. We got it over there. One price for everything. You can sign up. I think we still have a promo code going right now. Heater25 gets you 25% off. And come check it out. We got a Discord. I highly recommend if you sign up and try it out to get in the Discord. A lot of really good stuff in the Discord, even for members, just knowledgeable members talking about sports all day, talking about the slates. And, the NFL content's been rocking. We're going to have showdown content for tomorrow's game. I know Bobby's got some content for the other slates, the main slates and stuff, stack charts and all that. So you got to check all our content out. We got Big T, Hoop, doing a cash chart, Mangone, AP. Got a ton of guys over there with some really good content. So, yeah, I mean, that's it for my plug.
Yeah, RPS like K Fallick this week, 115K. Get a hit on K Fallick. Had a great hit this weekend.
Imagine we try to pay someone, John. So we tried to pay this person, and he won't accept money, and he helps us out when he can, and he does it.
Hashtag how rich.
Yeah, well, he has his own job, but he just wants to support us, and he likes what we're doing. And I mean, K Fallick is like one of the nicest people ever. If you ever were to meet him, the guy's just so nice. And he's in the soccer streets. He's in every Discord channel for every sport you can pretty much think of. Just like, I got to go do my soccer. Then, I got to go back to baseball. And then it's just wild. That he's a true warrior.
Yeah, he's good. He's definitely good in the Discords. He's very responsive. Like pretty much all the coordinators, they'll hit you back if you have questions. So if you already signed for RPS, make sure you're hopping in our Discord. All right, let's get into these games. Chicago at Cleveland, total 19 and a quarter team total for Chicago. The Browns have a 26 and a quarter team total. 45.5 is the live total right now. JSU Rab, I'll kick it to you. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I mean, so we just got the news today. Justin Fields officially is going to start. I think we all kind of figured that he was going to start, but that's completely changes this team. And I said it when I was talking when we saw the injury to Andy Dalton. I was talking with my brother, and I was like, "Oh, this is a huge hit to the passing game of the Bears." And he's like, "Why? Andy Dalton sucks." And I was like, yeah, he does suck, but Justin Fields isn't ready. And there's a difference between quarterbacks that, are a little they're past their prime, right? They're not there anymore. They really shouldn't be starting, which was where Andy Dalton was. He really shouldn't have been starting in the NFL, but he was just that guy to kind of like hold the ship kind of somewhat steady until the rookie was ready to go. And he wasn't ready. And I think if you watch the game with Justin Fields when he came in, you could clearly see that even though the guy has talent, he's definitely got ability and he's got athleticism. I mean, like absolutely from a DFS standpoint, he could get you a bunch of rushing yards and he could, maybe if they get down a little bit, teams start to lax a little on defense at towards the end of the game. Could he somehow get there at his DFS price? Yes. But the dude just made some really bad decisions, in my opinion. And I don't know if that's going to go away this week. Now, he does get a full week of practice under his belt. That'll definitely help him, but we'll see. I don't love the Bears side personally. I like Cleveland here a lot. Now, the question on the Cleveland side is going to be, Baker was obviously a little nicked up in that game. The run game started to get going towards the end, and then Jarvis Landry got injured. So I think there might be some opportunity opening up on this Cleveland side. If Odell Beckham plays, I would like Odell because I do think that one thing the Bears have shown us this year is that secondary is really shaky, like real shaky. So I think we can attack a guy like Odell, or if Odell doesn't go, we could probably find one of these cheap receivers. But this isn't a game that I'm going to be like heavily targeting in DFS. If I had 5 lineups, I don't know if I'd touch anyone outside of like Odell or maybe Chubb if he played.
Yeah, and that makes sense with the 46.5 team total. Last week, you touched on Peoples-Jones, Schwartz for larger field stuff, and then Peoples-Jones, I think you can make a case. What are your thoughts on Peoples-Jones again this week? Like going back.
Well, did you see what happened? He like dropped an easy ball. He like just like caught it, dropped it. It was at the beginning, and then Higgins started getting a little more run. I think that's going to be a fluid situation. I think he's talent-wise, I think he's the best receiver outside of Odell and Landry. He's not the fastest one, though, right? That kid Schwartz is – you always talk about straight line speed. That dude is fast. But, yeah, I don't know. I have to see if Odell's going to – if Odell plays, like I do think – I think he was probably ready to play last game, but they probably just held him back saying, like, we're facing Houston. Do we really need to push Odell? Like, probably not. So they just held him out. Like, I think he's going to go, though. He got a full practice in on Wednesday. We'll see, though.
Yeah, we'll by Friday we'll have that news, hopefully, or Sunday at 11:30. John, what are your thoughts on this game, and where are you kind of looking in terms of? Obviously, it's a 46.5 team total, so there's not a ton, but you can get into it a little bit.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. It's not a key target for me, but I think there's 2 things that we sort of talked about. One is the Justin Fields thing. Like, I'm definitely curious to see what his ownership is going to be. He's 5.2K, so obviously he's a good way to save salary. But to JSU's point is like, the little that we've seen of him so far, like it wasn't great. So like, I don't know if I'd be looking to play, like, especially if he's going to be chalk since he's so cheap in tournaments, man. I don't know if I'd be looking to get there. And then on the flip side, love Odell if he goes 5.3K, super cheap. Landry on IR now. The thing is like, I want to attack the Cleveland side a little bit. They have a healthy team total, but it's like, how do you do it? Like the tight ends led them in targets. They're running out like 3 different tight ends at times. Like even the cheaper other wide receivers like Peoples-Jones, like what did he have? Like 2 targets or something? Like, and then if Odell's back too, like we're just not going to get volume out of these guys. And then even Chubb, like you want to play Chubb when they're favored like this, but he ran well last week and he only had 11 carries. Like they ran out Kareem Hunt more than they ran out Nick Chubb. So if it's going to be something like that, then it's just going to be a situation where even if they score a decent amount of points, the volume's not necessarily coming from concentrated players. And if that's the case, then it's probably just going to be a pass for me.
I will say one thing about Chubb, though. I think he did kind of run a little worse than you're saying. They gave the fullback dive on the 1 yard line at the very beginning of the game. And then Baker Mayfield runs in that, what was that, like 5 or 7 yard when they were down in the goal line or goal line, red zone, whatever you call it, situation. So those were spots where I think Nick Chubb had shots to get in. And yeah, we can all say like, well, what if, whatever. But I will say, I think he ran a little worse than you're giving him credit for.
JSU always has a Chubb for Chubb.
This is true, actually. I will say, and I don't think anyone has this opinion. And Bobby, you can correct me, or John, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's the best pure runner in the NFL. Like, I
think he's up there. I just wish he'd get the majority of the usage.
I just think if you said to me, pick one running back, like I would pick him. Like, I think he's the best pure runner in all of football. Not talking about how good his hands are, because obviously if we add the hands in the catching, then Christian McCaffrey is obviously one of the best. But Nick Chubb, nobody wants to tackle that dude when he's got a full head of steam. It's like Derrick Henry, but he's like more compact. He's just a truck when he runs forward. He's just a beast. I think he's so good, but I know Bobby doesn't feel as strong about Nick Chubb.
No, I'm usually a big Chubb guy, actually. I don't mind Ross.
Oh, Bobby's got a Chubb for Chubb?
Chubb for Chubb, yeah. So my thing is basically in this game, I don't mind Chubb. Want to see where his ownership comes in. I really like the Cleveland defense because I think Justin Fields is probably going to be the medium projection quarterback or around that. Like I feel like it's the cash game guys are going to play either Lamar or Justin Fields. And I think that Fields with his legs and being a rookie, this Cleveland defensive line is pretty good. So don't really mind. I think Cleveland defense would actually be the play for me in tournaments. If Fields was to gain steam. All right, let's keep it moving along here. Arizona at Jacksonville is the next game. Obviously, Kyler Murray just play him at this point, right? Jon Kelly, kick this one off to you. What are you looking for?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much like you said, like Kyler always has one of the biggest ceilings on the slate, but him and D-Hop are starting to get expensive now. Every single week I want to get exposure to the Arizona offense, but, it is kind of tough to do this week, and there are some cheaper targets that I actually prefer going into Jacksonville. I still think they'll be fine. I think they cover the spread here, but I don't know if they're going to be a key piece for me just because of how expensive they are. I usually play like anywhere from 15 to like 25 lineups. I'll probably run a few Kyler stacks, maybe throw some double stacks with Christian Kirk, who seems to be getting a decent amount of usage this year. But as far as the Jacksonville side, there's not really a ton I'm looking to target. Marvin Jones' price is coming up a bit. I know LaVisca is still pretty cheap, but we really haven't seen a ton of usage. So overall, it's probably just a couple Arizona stacks for me in this game.
Yeah, I like the call. Like basically talking about just like the Kyler side, the Jacksonville side. You would think like just not to like get into this too much, but I think it's something that definitely needs to be touched upon. JSU, you were talking on the pre-show for RPS the other day, basically about running back your stacks and how that's kind of like, at this point, it might be being overutilized. Like, not that obviously in these larger field stuff, it's good to kind of maximize the potential of your run backs and your correlations. So you don't have to hit so many spots, but just like kind of get into that take that you had the other day.
Yeah. So. I mean, one of the things we do is a weekend review show every Monday for our premium subscribers. We'll go through kind of what we're seeing with lineup builds, and we'll take people's lineups and we'll look at them and we'll talk about them and we'll see how the builds were, and we'll talk about the build specifically, see where they went right or went wrong, or where we went right, and look at our own builds. And one thing I just kind of noticed, and you see it whenever you use like an optimizer. If anyone's ever used an optimizer, there's all these rules, right? When you're stacking, and they all have like these stack rules, right? And all the stack rules are pretty much like quarterback with 2 options, 2 receiving options, and then 1 bring back. And it's the very common trend. And what happens is all these sharp players, they've been doing this for a while, so they're not changing, right? And everyone's going to say this is the norm way of stacking. And they're not wrong. This is the norm way of stacking because those top players have just been doing it for years. So when they look at the numbers and say, well, in Millie Makers, this is what's been winning, you'll say, yeah, because the top guys have been using this for years. That's why it's been winning. And that's why majority of winning lineups are this. What I've noticed in the last 2 weeks, and now this is very small sample sizing. I'm not saying that this is the end all be all, but in these Millie Makers, the winners haven't ran it back in their stacks. They've had a stack, but they haven't run it back. Or it was just like a quarterback, 1 option, and 1 receiver. I saw that in like the top 3 of one of the Millie Makers, but I haven't seen a full like run back with 2 options and 1 run back. I've seen it only quarterback with 2 receiving options winning. And I'm wondering if the thought process, now you could say, hey, I still believe that bringing it back in my stack is the way you should do it. That's fine and dandy. I'm talking about trying to be unique. And if you're trying to be unique and you're trying to beat all of these big players, these big dogs, well, they're all bringing back their stacks, and they're all doing this rule. That's like a rule in their opto if you're doing 150. So why the hell are you just going to follow suit?
Yeah, you don't want to play in that pool.
Yeah, you should be trying to build as unique of a lineup as you can. And if you know that 75 to 85% of the players are building this way, well, then why wouldn't you try and, even me, I'm going to try and build a different way. So like in my lineups this week, I might try not stacking in a few or not bringing the stack back in a few of my builds just to be unique because I know it's going to be unique and see how it works. So, I mean, I don't know if you have a take on that, John or Bob, but I've noticed it, and it kind of makes sense to me in a way where if everyone's going one way, why would you just go with them?
No, I'm with you. I think it's to play outside of that pool where the sharper players are kind of going to try to do that at least. And you see this implied team total for the Jags at 22. I don't like this week, especially in the 555, like you don't need to hit that ceiling. You're not trying to maximize your ceiling if it was a millionaire maker out of like 250,000 people. Like, you don't really need to do that. So not having the run back this week, I think is pretty interesting. And obviously 2 games is very small sample size. You hit on that. Like it is what it is. Like it's an extremely small sample size, but this is a game that I think a lot of people are going to try to play, and Marvin Jones is already hitting optimals. So I can see people trying to do that, and it just might not be.
I mean, let's be honest. Everyone who stacks the Cardinals, they're going to run it back with Marvin Jones. So yeah, we already know that.
Jon Kelly, you made a really good point, and I skipped over it because I lost my train of thought. And I think it's a really sharp call is going back to Christian Kirk. What are your thoughts there, and why do you want to do that?
Well, I just think the Arizona offense always has that type of ceiling. Like, you bet Kyler for MVP. Like, if he has that type of year where he's just having a massive ceiling every single week, then there's always going to be guys outside of DeAndre Hopkins that could pop off there. I know AJ Green is like dusty, and I don't really want to play AJ Green, but at least Christian Kirk, I think, still has a ceiling. We've seen them target him in the red zone. What do you have? 2 touchdowns in week 1. I can't really remember what he did last week, but yeah, he's just that second guy that they're willing to take deep shots with and target in the end zone. So I think he's probably always going to be the guy that you either double stack with Nook Hopkins, or you could even skinny stack as a different way to just get unique. If you think that they're going to double team Hopkins or whatever, but yeah, that's kind of my thought process there.
Yeah, really like the Kirk call when you said it. And I wanted to get into that bring back because I think that's in this 555 millionaire maker. I don't think it's a necessity, whereas it would be if we were playing like the $20. So I hopped over it, and I really like the Kirk call. I think that's super sharp. I had more last week. I played the flop lag. A lot of the cash game guys are on more. It was one of my better calls. the week. But yeah, I don't know. This Arizona team's a great team. Obviously, they're going to play super fast, so there's always the potential for the run back. But I don't want to force the run back if I don't have to, especially with this Jacksonville team. I know Trevor Lawrence is really pushing the ball downfield, but I don't know. If everyone's going to play Marvin Jones, maybe I want to go in a different direction for Turner.
The one thing I was going to add is, like, obviously if you're running it back, like, yes, it's correlated, but to JSU's point, like, you need that game to be the game where it just turns into a total track meet in order for that to be the lineup. Like, yes, it's correlated, but you need that game, like, to be the Bucs Cowboys in week 1, like that style of a game in order for that to work. And then to your other point about being unique, maybe people do that without a bring back with just a single stack, but how many people are double stacking with no bring back? I would say the percentage is much fewer than people with a single stack. So it's just those type of things you got to think through. Right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And a game like this where you probably don't trust the Jacksonville offense to keep up with Arizona, that's a situation where maybe you double stack with no bring back. But I know we spent a lot of time on the Arizona game, so we could start to get through to some of these better games like KC Chargers up next.
Yeah, KC Chargers up next. San Diego going to Kansas City. 24 implied team total for the Chargers, and Kansas City's 30.5. 54.5 is right now the total. ASU, what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts are I think everyone's going to jump on this game. I mean, it's going to be one of the more popular games on the slate. Obviously, you got a big total. You got the Chiefs. Chiefs are going to always be popular on these main slates just because they have the highest upside, right, as an offense. And they got Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. And Travis Kelce at tight end is just completely unfair because he's better than every other tight end, especially when it comes to fantasy. And so, it becomes a point where you just got to take a stand on these type of games. The Cowboys game was no different last week, where you just you're either playing it and you're going heavy or you're just not. Like, it was, in my opinion, it was just one way or the other. Pick your choice and go with it. Obviously a lot of people that went heavy on that game didn't work out. This is the same game to me. Like, pick your way. You're either going to play a lot of Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill and maybe bring it back, like with Keenan Allen, who I think is a great play, Mike Williams, who's been a monster first 2 weeks, or you're going to be a little lighter. Maybe you just play a little Austin Eckler. Maybe you hope the game speeds up a little bit. Teams kind of running the ball a little more. It's more of a back and forth where they're kind of getting stopped. I mean, last week, that Chargers game, a lot of things happened in that game. A lot of stupid calls and penalties that kind of messed with the game a little bit. By the way, what's up with all these taunting penalties? Like, standing over someone is taunting now?
It's no fun league. You have to get used to it.
It might be the worst. It might be the worst rule of any sports league of all time. I think it is the worst rule of any sports league of all time. Like, I've never seen this. Like, how many people would be getting 15-yard penalties if we started this rule like 10 years ago? This would be awful.
Bad. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I want to go back to like the days where Terrell Owens was taking the popcorn and calling someone, and I want to go back to
the cell phone. Yeah.
I want to go back to that. Like, I don't care. Let them do it after every 15-yard play. Who gives a crap? Like, it's football. Everyone's fired up. But I haven't decided on this game. I think Austin Eckler might be the best play, though, to be honest with you. I think the Chiefs can get hammered on the ground. We saw that with the Ravens. I mean, even Lat Murray, they were running Lat Murray up the gut for like 4 or 5 yards every single carry, it felt like, when he was in the game. I was like, Lat Murray is so over the hill. The Chiefs bleed yards running. Tyson looked good. Even Devontae Freeman had a few nice runs.
It makes sense if you're going.
I think Chargers could run on them.
Right? Like, if you're playing against Mahomes, you can't assume rational coaching, but you really want to run the football as much as possible.
Keep the ball out of his hands. Yeah, keep the ball out of his hands. Yeah.
Jon Kelly, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I have similar thoughts. I think there's 3 marquee games on the slate. This is the one at 1 p.m., and then we have 2 in the afternoon. But obviously, like, what can you say about either of these offenses? We know who the guys are. I was kind of surprised to see how affordable on the Chargers side. I think that kind of makes it harder to fade just because of how cheap they are. Like 6.6K for Keenan Allen, super affordable. You mentioned Mike Williams, 6.4K. He's been a guy who they're using to run different routes this season, more catchable balls rather than just being a straight vertical deep threat. And so that's really helped his usage this season. I like both of those guys. And I really like Austin Eckler as well. 7.2K. He's in that upper mid range. He's kind of going to be like in that tier where it's like a lot of people want to pay up for the big dog or Dalvin, or they want to go for the cheaper, more affordable running backs. I know this is a game, like he's not going to be unowned, but that should help him not be chalk, I guess. And then also he hasn't really had that like big Eckler game yet this season where he's done it on the ground and through the air. And I think that's coming. So this would be a spot where you would think it could happen going into Arrowhead. They struggle against the run, but also playing from behind, we should see him targeted in the passing game as well. So love the calls there. And then KC side, obviously, like there's nothing really to add there. Best offense in the NFL. If you can afford them, go for it. Just make sure, as we always say, if you're going to be stacking the KC side, just make sure there's a way to be unique with those stacks, whether it's in this game or making sure the rest of your lineup is unique.
Yeah, I think you made two really good points there. First, like just hitting on Mike Williams. Mike Lombardi's using him as the X, basically Michael Thomas role. 10 targets last week, 3 red zone targets last week for Mike Williams. Seeing him as a possession receiver is a little different than what we've seen in the past. So I like that call. And then you hit on being unique with this KC stacks. We see in week 1, like the Kansas City Tyreek Kelsey stack won without Mahomes. It was on the winner without Mahomes. And I think there's opportunity to do that this week as well. Like the Millionaire Maker winner that week was, I forget who the quarterback was, but it didn't have Mahomes and it had Tyreek and Kelsey. So when you can get all that usage on one team, and then if someone can compete with Mahomes when his price tag's kind of elevated, I don't mind getting Kelsey and Tyreek on teams without Mahomes in this tournament. Another thing is CEH. Like a lot of these teams are moving to two high safety shells, and basically the San Diego Chargers head coach was the Rams defensive coordinator last year, and they ran a lot of this. And I think we've seen that it's starting to become more and more prevalent around the league. And you have CEH there at 4,800, and the best way to kind of run against that, as we've seen last week with Eckler. Eckler was basically not really. Eckler's the wrong. Basically, it was the Colts defense. They were using the other, like obviously the Colts and Green Bay don't have great defenses, but against Aaron Rodgers, they're using a lot of double high safeties, and it opened up a lot in the ground game for Aaron Jones. I think you can see that with CEH. It's priced down at 4,800. I can't stand CEH. Don't like rostering him, but at that price tag, they're dangling him for you. So just something to consider. Any thoughts on CEH?
They're trying to get you to play him.
Yeah, they're trying to get you to play him. John,
I can't do it.
Yeah, he's a rough one. Jon Kelly, any thoughts on CEH there?
I'm glad you brought it up. I was hoping one of you guys had a take. I really don't. Like nobody's gonna play him. It's a high total game.
Wait, no one's gonna play him?
I don't think so.
Are gonna play him at 4,800 in this offense in a 55 total. I think he's gonna hit more optos than you think.
Okay. Well, if people are going to play him, then I would just X him out. Like the only reason I'd play him is if he's going to be unowned and like from a macro sense, one of the highest team totals on the slate, like maybe he can score twice. But if he's going to be chalky, I pretty much have no interest. I mean, they've shown no interest in using him in a high volume type of role. So it's like, you know.
See, if he was going to be low owned, I would be fine pairing him with Eckler and fading the passing game and just hoping my running game script kind of wins out because it's going to be unique. I just don't think he's going to be low owned. So if he's going to have ownership, which I think he will.
He's coming in middle of the pack.
Wow. Well, what do they have him at now? What do they have him at now?
15%.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
See, even at 15%, I don't even really have interest there in tournaments.
No. I can't bring myself to play him. But they should be trying to utilize him. Like maybe it'll be Damian Williams. One of these running backs is going to do well because the best way to combat the double high safeties is to run the football. So
I will say though, the problem with CEH is that they have Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. And I've said this all the time, but I'm sorry, you're just not going to get Patrick. They're just not going to be like a running football team where they're just going to like pound you on the ground constantly. They need to use him in the passing game. The problem, though, is that all these guys are running open all the time. So they don't need to check down constantly to running backs in that offense because they got Tyreek Hill and Mecole Hardman and Travis Kelce, and these guys are open. So Pat Mahomes is going to be throwing the ball downfield more. And when that happens,
any Hardman takes?
I mean, I'm a big Mecole Hardman fan, but yeah. My issue is I think he needs Tyreek Hill out for him to go nuts. He needs to play like the Tyreek Hill role. There can't be two of them on the field. It fucks it all up. But
no, 100%. All right, I actually have some sneaky interest in and just flop lag. We're getting to Washington and the Bills. Washington 19 total.
Washington
I don't like
Bills.
That's not what I'm getting. I don't like Washington. I like the Bills here. 26.5 is the team total.
John, you can start.
The actual total.
I gotta go throw up. I'll be back.
I think Bob should start because it sounds like he might have the most interest here.
Bob, we're gonna turn our cameras off. You stroke to the.
So I like the Bills. I'm on the Bills. Manny Sanders. A lot of the higher end cash game players were playing Manny last week. The flop lag there, I think, is very interesting, especially with Washington. They're going to funnel the pass. I don't hate going to Manny Sanders down at 4-2. It's kind of similar to Rondale Moore last week. He was kind of the chalk week 1. Sanders is kind of the flop lag play that I have interest in on this slate. I think he's a sharp play. This Washington team isn't covering anyone downfield. It's pretty much the front seven. I think Washington will have one of the better defenses as the year progresses. But yeah, my play would be Emmanuel Sanders. Any thoughts there? Jon Kelly, I kick it to you.
I mean, I get it. He's not really a target for me, but I don't really like this game too much. I mean, Buffalo at home always has a ceiling. We haven't really seen it yet this year, but I respect Washington defense, like you said. So I don't know if this is really the spot. And then Washington with Heineke going into Buffalo, I'm not really looking to go to the main guys there. Gibson and McLaurin would be the two, but yeah, it's not really a core piece for me. I mean, you could always get exposure to Josh Allen, Steph Diggs, like you said, maybe double stack it with Manny Sanders, but I don't know. He might just be dust. We don't really know yet.
Yeah, JSU, what are you thinking?
Yeah, so I think Josh Allen's going to be kind of popular again this week because he's at 7K on DraftKings, and
I think Lamar is going to be the guy that.
No, I think all the cash
Lamar's
guys
my
are gonna,
guy.
I think all the cash guys are going to play Josh Allen. Mark it down. I guarantee you, Hoop has him number 1 in the playbook. I'll bet it right now. I haven't even looked yet. I'll pull it up. Right after. I guarantee you, he's got him number 1 in the playbook. 7K for Josh Allen, where most of these guys see him as right there with Lamar and Pat Mahomes and Kyler Murray, and they get like a $800 to $1,300 discount. Most of those guys are going to take that discount with Josh Allen because ultimately he has just as much upside as any of those quarterbacks. My issue with this game is that the key to beating Buffalo, I think Pittsburgh showed it in week 1. You have to be able to rush 4 and drop back in coverage with 7 and be able to get there with your 4-man rush. I think this Washington team has the ability to have success doing that if they just copy what Pittsburgh did. Literally drop back, stop the big plays, and just let them have the underneath stuff. If they want to throw 20 passes to Stephon Diggs for 5 to 8 yards, let them have it. Just stop the big plays. Because Josh Allen, he wants to create the big throws down the field. He'll check down, but it's to get the big plays down the field, and we're not seeing it as much. I think it's because in that first week, Steelers just did a really good job bringing pressure and not having to blitz and bring pressure, which was the key to that game. In that win was they barely blitzed in that entire game, and they got pressure on Josh Allen enough to win that game, in my opinion. I think the Redskins have the same. If they take that formula, I think they have the pieces to be able to do this to Josh Allen.
Yeah, I just think Allen's going to be able to throw. They're not going to be able to run the football like you seen last week where Zach Moss was actually involved in this Bills offense. Like you're not going to see that this week, so Allen's going to have to throw. Manny Sanders, I really like him as a one-off. I don't know. Obviously, Diggs is always in play.
You like this game. Stop it, Bob.
I like the Bills side of this game. I think it's
so say I'm gonna get in there. I'm gonna play Josh Allen. I'm gonna stack it with Manny Sanders and Stephon Diggs, and I'm not gonna run it back.
I might maybe just one. I don't necessarily. I feel like I can skinny it. Like I don't know. But Josh Allen maybe gets a rushing. Daniel Jones at 2 rushing TDs versus Washington defense. I will say.
I think this is one of those games where if you did like the Bills like Bob does, this is one of those games where I think you could not run it back.
Yeah, this is definitely not running it back.
Yeah.
With Heineke. I would have loved if Fitzpatrick played in this game, but we're not going to see that, unfortunately. Little narrative street there. Fitzpatrick going back to Buffalo. All right, we've already spent too much time on this game. Colts and the Titans. Colts 21 implied team total, Titans 26, 48.5 the actual total. JSU, I'll kick it off with you. What are you liking here?
48.5 is the total, huh? If Carson Wentz, who I'm pretty sure there was some good news out today that the swelling came down a little bit, and he didn't practice, obviously, but then they said he doesn't need to practice to play, whatever it is. If he plays and he is decent from a mobile standpoint, there could definitely be points in this game. The injuries do worry me, but if they say he's good to go, I'm sure it'll be a lot better of a game. If he doesn't play, now this game becomes really suspect to me, especially on the Indy side. So I'm definitely going to have some interest as long as Carson Wentz plays. This Tennessee secondary is bad. I don't know who I'm going to play yet, but I'll play someone from Indy on the receiving side, like a Pascal or a Pittman. Pascal's been sneaky, in the slot. That dude just catches touchdowns. And no one plays him every week. And I said it week 1. I was literally standing next to Tony before lock, and I said to him, he was doing a ton of Indy stacks, and I said to him, "Hey, Pascal, that dude just catches touchdowns. He's a monster." I don't think he ended up playing him, but
he had the 2 tutties that week.
Yeah, it's the truth though. He steals them. He's a touchdown monster. But and then I would like Tennessee. I think that AJ Brown's in a good spot. Julio Jones, those guys are in a good spot. So I'd probably pick one, though. I'm not going to play Tannehill.
Interesting. Jon Kelly, what are your thoughts with this Indy-Tennessee game?
Yeah, I don't really have much to add there. A.J. Brown, I think he's 6,500. That's pretty affordable. I've been targeting this Indy secondary through the first 2 weeks. I'm not going to stop. I think that's a good play right there. And then I'm glad you guys brought up the Pascal thing, because I'm trying to figure out, is he just going to be a thing all season long? Because it kind of seems that way. And to your point, literally nobody still is playing him just because they're he's Zach Pascal. He's not going to keep doing this. Well, maybe he is going to keep doing this. We all thought Pittman was going to be the guy. Maybe he's the guy. But I think a lot of people are going to go chase the big dog here. Last week he was virtually unowned, had the big week. Now they're a 5-point favorite. He's the most expensive running back. I think people will chase that. So I'm less interested there. So it's really just AJ Brown for me, maybe some Pascal. And I think Jonathan Taylor always has a ceiling. So I'll just throw that out there as well.
Yeah, like the Jonathan Taylor call. You did hit on the biggest part of this game. What are you doing with Derrick Henry? I don't play chalk Derrick Henry. We're seeing him being utilized in the passing game. I talked about this on the Dump, the RPS news show with Ferks are out. He had seen the 4 targets, I think week 1 and
Yep.
We've seen an increase in targets, and like, what are we going to do with chalk Derrick Henry? Like, for me, I don't usually want to play it chalk Derrick Henry. I don't mind I think Jonathan Taylor 6,700. I wouldn't mind going there. A little flop lag with Nyheim Hines. I feel like people will, if they're trailing, I think that's kind of the script, right? They're gonna, Tennessee's favored by 6. I don't know. I like Jonathan Taylor though at that price versus Tennessee. Like, Tennessee's defense has not been great. JSU, any thoughts on Derrick Henry and what you're planning to do with him in tournaments?
Yeah, I mean, is he going to be – I haven't looked at anything.
He's going to be pretty chalky.
Yeah. It stinks because I was on him last week. I knew he was going to be 5%. Obviously, does the thing where he goes nuts. And when a guy goes nuts on one of these main slates of primetime games, like – you just know the next time they play, they're going to be popular. It's just the way DFS is. And I've told people this. People ask me all the time, like, oh, like, I'm not as good as you this. How do you build your lineups and stuff? And I'm like, dude, that's because you're playing whatever happened last week. You're trying to recreate this week, and you're doing what everyone else does. And I'm like, have you noticed that it doesn't work out when you do it? Because everyone, this guy went for 30 last week, he's going to go. No, it doesn't work that way. People aren't even going to hit their average every single time. It's just not how NFL works. These guys still got to go play. Like, you can't just be like,
these coaches are just scheming for like
of
the
course.
and Derrick
Okay,
Henry.
well, wait a second. If you're playing Tennessee, who are you more afraid of, Derrick Henry or Ryan Tannehill?
No,
like,
exactly.
come on.
I'm afraid of Derrick Henry. He just went for 50. Like, they're going to be.
He went for 50, Bob.
He
went for 50, and I told you this. He lost his I think it was the left tackle in Luan before the game. He got injured pre-game, I think it was.
The right tackle in the game.
And then he lost Stanley, the right tackle, during the game. Two of their better offensive linemen on the entire team. And he still does this. Like,
it's absolutely
ridiculous. Yeah.
I think this is a big point in terms of construction is what you're going to do with Derrick Henry, or it will be come Sunday. All right, Bengals at the Pittsburgh Steelers. This total's down at 44. Bengals implied team total is 20. Steelers is 23.5. Jon Kelly, you're up.
So I was going to ask you guys, like, are we done with the Najee Harris thing? I know he kind of sucked out last week.
Don't get me started on. Bobby knows my take on Najee Harris.
Yeah,
I was
a Najee
tilting
fan.
my face off, texting my buddy. I'm like, Najee, Trent Richardson, Harris. Like, I was giving him everything, and then he ended up getting there. But it was like the scummiest cover as a chalk running back last week. I just think he's always going to be owned because they haven't priced him up. And if that's the case, like, I think we've definitely seen paths to him failing as chalk. So if that's the case, then I'm just not going to go there. Is Deontay Johnson going to play by chance?
That's something we don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know yet? Okay.
Because
I was going to say, if he's not going to play, then I do have interest in Juju. I do have interest in Claypool. Similar to the Indy secondary that we said we like to target, Cincinnati secondary has given it up the first 2 weeks. So I don't mind Chase Claypool. I know Ben's arm is kind of dust, but Chase Claypool as a deep threat. I think one of those guys can pop off if Deontay doesn't play. So that's really the majority of my interest here. You can always look to target the Joe Burrow stacks on the other side. They're going to be throwing a lot, playing from behind a lot, but overall divisional game, low total. It's not a key piece for me.
See, that's the thing for me. Like, both of these teams, like with how like the offensive lines are, the total's 44. And I know Cincinnati really hasn't thrown the ball as much as we've hoped, like, prior to the season, but these teams could both. There's potential for them both to throw the ball 50 times. You know what I mean? Because they just have to. You know, I don't really like anything here. I don't really like this game, but if Najee Harris gets chalky, I don't mind the Claypool, Deontay. I like the call of going to Ben. Just Ben has to beat, like, these QBs.
No, I don't think you play Ben though, unless you think that the Bengals are going to actually put up a fight, and this is going to be somewhat of a back and forth.
So you would be running it back in that case.
Yeah, I just wouldn't stack. I just wouldn't stack on the Steelers side. I would play Claypool as a one-off or Juju as a one-off. Probably fade Harris, but I can't stack Ben Roethlisberger.
Jamar Chase is still 54.
Yeah.
He'll be popular. If he's still 5,400, he's going to be popular again.
Oh, definitely.
So Burrow threw 25 times week 1, and now he threw 30 times last week. Like, this is just climbing. So, I don't know. This game could shoot out, and it's a 44-point total. Not many people are going to stack it. It might be an interesting game to stack. JSU, any final thoughts here?
No, I mean – Deontay news is kind of critical to talking about this game because if Deontay's in, then I mean, now you're talking about a receiving core that's fully loaded, and could one of them smash? For sure. Picking the one is going to be a lot tougher with Deontay in. So I think this game's kind of a clear stay away. I will say though, you want to talk about a running back who's quietly just getting his 22 touches, 23 touches each week the last 2 weeks. Joe Mixon. Joe Burrow's not throwing as much. They're giving Joe Mixon a lot of love in that backfield. So
I like the prices on these Cincy guys. 6,300 for Mixon, T. Higgins 5,100, Tyler Boyd 47, Chase down at 54.
The problem with those guys though is they don't throw enough right now.
But there were 5 more passes last week. This Pittsburgh D line, they might have to throw it might get up. Like, we were expecting this team to come up throwing as much as possible. I don't know.
I guess what you need, Bobby, would be for Ben to get up early and get up on them by 2 touchdowns or something, and then them to kind of go in panic mode, because they haven't really. They've been just kind of giving the ball to Mixon, running. They've been really just trying to kind of keep it equal and not force Burrow
this week, though, right? Like, this Pittsburgh front 7.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I don't know. This game is not a great DFS game, though. No. I don't think, anyways. Yeah.
New Orleans at New England. New England's favored by 3. Total moved down a point.
Now, who's got a garbage can?
This is as garbage as it gets.
I was going to say, you want to talk about a game that's not a good DFS game.
So you can pick off this page.
Listen, we live in New England, all 3 of us now. Nobody wants to talk about the Patriots against anybody. That's the truth of the matter. The Patriots could be going up against any team. I don't care who it is. I don't think they'll have interest in them all year. I don't know if any team can make me have interest in the Pats right now. They play so boring. Yeah, Damian Harris is going to get 20 touches in a good game probably. But outside of him, maybe a defense, next, throw it away.
Yeah. What's White's price? Just want to check.
Oh, and Jimmy White. He's a running back.
I think he's 4.9. Starting to get a little bit up there.
Let's get up.
For White. Anyway.
Honestly, this is a matchup I don't love the running backs though. Jimmy White actually might be the play over Harris. Just straight up. They might need him more in this matchup.
And he's seeing the targets too. Jon Kelly, any final thoughts? I don't really have anything.
No, I mean, I'm not really looking at – this is the lowest total on the entire slate. Yeah. Both teams play pretty slow. New England's going to run the ball a lot, like you said. So I'm not – full slate of games, 3 really big team totals with 2 of the games that we'll talk about in the afternoon, and then the KC game. Those games are going to score way more fantasy points than this one. So I think you just cross it off and move on.
Yeah. Atlanta at New York Giants. Atlanta's team total 22, Giants 25. 47.5 is the actual total. Jon Kelly, going right back to you. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, so I might be a sick fish, but I actually think this game has sneaky potential here. I think the Giants in general can always kind of find themselves in those like what we saw last Thursday with Washington, ugly game on both sides, but there's a lot of fantasy goodness. And I just think, like, especially on the Atlanta side, their defense has not looked good at all. You know, Daniel Jones always has a ceiling with his legs, but he's been targeting Shepard quite a bit. We've seen Slayton get some usage as well. Kenny Golladay has not really been a thing yet, but you know, it's a good matchup. Maybe they squeaky wheel scenario after he was like flipping out on the sidelines last week. And then on the Atlanta side, they really haven't shown up at all this season. I know Calvin Ridley kind of got there last week, but between Ridley and Pitts, I just think they always have a ceiling. So I think there's a lot of ways you guys can attack this game. Even the Giants defense, if we think Atlanta kind of shits the bed again, like they're pretty cheap. What are they? 3.3K going up against Atlanta's offensive line that hasn't really protected Matt Ryan all that well. But yeah, I definitely want to hear your guys' thoughts. I definitely have some interest in this game though.
JSU, any thoughts here? I know you like Ridley.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I think by the end of this week, this is going to be the game that by the end of this week, everyone talks up being like, yeah, this is my sneaky game. And then it ends up being heavily owned because everyone's talking it up, thinking it's going to be sneaky because Daniel Jones literally is coming off two good fantasy games, may I add, if you just like look at his numbers and his rushing numbers. So like people hate Daniel Jones, but when you look at his numbers, the thing that's going to stick out is, especially last game, is the rushing numbers, and both that he scored rushing touchdowns in both games. Those things stick out to people. And then you get the $5,800 price tag plus the plus matchup, which in my opinion, from a secondary standpoint, you might be looking at the worst secondary in the NFL. Like
very bad.
This Atlanta secondary is really, really bad. If you're a Rumpier Sports subscriber, I explained to you guys last week exactly who Tom Brady was going to target for exactly the touchdowns, Mr. Mike Evans, because AJ Terrell is their best corner and he's complete dog shit. Isaiah Oliver's their slot guy. He's complete dog shit. Daniel Jones.
Jake almost won me a KOB ticket.
I'm telling you, Daniel Jones is going to watch the film from the last two games that Atlanta played, and he's just going to be like, oh, shit, both these teams picked on the same two guys. I'm just going to attack these two guys. And Sterling Shepard's going to get a lot of love in this game. Kenny Golladay, like you said, there's the whole bickering back and forth. By the way, if you're Daniel Jones, if I was a quarterback and someone yelled at me, I'd be like, fuck you, dude. I'm not throwing you the ball anymore. Like I'll throw it to anybody else but you. Like, fuck off. But
did you see, like, after the game too, they asked him about it and he was like so mature, like, oh no, we're good. Like he's just a passionate guy.
No,
like I was like, all right.
You can't throw the guy on. I mean, if he throws him under the bus, like that's it. They're fighting the rest of the year. And you know, it's tough when listen, the football is the one sport where, like, listen, there are two people that dictate who the ball goes to. It's the coaches and the quarterback. That's it. Like, you know, it's not NBA where any guy on the court can get the ball and do what he wants, right? Even if it's against the play that they're running, you know what I mean? That's not football. Football, like, the coach needs to call the play, the quarterback runs it, and he decides who the ball goes to or the coach off the play. So these studs, like Kenny Golladay, who I think is a complete stud from a talent standpoint, you get put with these subpar quarterbacks, man, I'm sure it makes him really respect Matthew Stafford even more when he gets put with someone like Daniel Jones. But it's just the case, dude. He can't throw himself the football. Like, Kenny Golladay had a right to be pissed at him because he was running wide open on one of those routes before he got yelled at, or before he yelled at Daniel Jones. He was probably yelling at him saying, dude, what the fuck? Let the ball go. I was wide open, running downfield. Like, you saw him just like put his hand up. It would have been an easy touchdown, and he missed him. Like, he just didn't throw it, and that's it, because Daniel Jones is a subpar quarterback who's afraid at times to make plays. Like, that's just the truth.
If I was Daniel Jones and I was getting bitched at like that, there's no way I'm going back to Galladay. But it is what it is.
Yeah, but most of these quarterbacks will go back to them and get them theirs at some point. And this could be it. You know, like, oh, we're getting
Galladay
Atlanta.
had 8 targets though last week. Like it wasn't like he wasn't. I understand the play in that scenario where he
was wide open on a touch. I remember this play. It was on the left side. He was wide open for a touchdown. Daniel Jones kind of scrambled a little towards the left side, and instead of throwing the ball, he tucked it.
Yeah,
it was wide open. He had to let it go. That's
so maybe that squeaky wheel narrative is something they'll try to.
This game will have ownership. I guarantee it.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I love Mike Davis down at 5,100. I think he's interesting. He's obviously Cordell Patterson like 8 in, but Mike Davis, I know he's the journeyman, but 5,100, he catches the passes. He's going to be, I think he'll get goal line for the majority of the year, although Patterson was in there. I don't mind going back to Davis here. And Ridley at 7K, if he's lower on, I'm just going to be overweight.
I mean, from an Eden standpoint, I mean, Mike Davis still got the majority of stats. He saw 75 week 1, 64 week 2.
Yeah.
Still got more than Patterson. Patterson only saw 33%. You know, they have
Patterson
specific plays for him.
He ran good, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Baltimore at the Lions next game. Baltimore is a 28 implied team total. Lions have a 21 implied team total. Lions cannot play defense, as we all saw on Monday night, which is something that kind of hit on at the top of the show. These primetime games, people see this stuff the most, and they let it affect their decision making. The total is 50. JSU, kick it to you. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I love one side of this game. Well, actually, like one player from the other side. But, I mean, the Ravens are going to absolutely roll here. You want to talk about a Lions team that got destroyed by Aaron Jones and Aaron Rodgers, and this Baltimore team runs the football really efficiently. And they've got friggin' over-the-hill veterans who are running the ball efficiently behind this scheme and this line. So, you know, I think Lamar could easily have a big game. I also think that Tyson Williams, Lat Murray, and whoever the hell else they have back there could combine for like 3 touchdowns and 200 yards on the ground, because the Lions cannot stop they're going to struggle all year to stop the run. It wouldn't shock me if Tyson
they're going to struggle to stop anything.
Well, it wouldn't shock me if Tyson had a big 40 or 50 yard run in this game, because when they get close to the goal line, they're giving it to Lat Murray a lot more than I even would have thought. But I wouldn't shock me if they gave up a few big plays, one to Lamar, one to Tyson. The guy who interests me the most, though, just from a tournament standpoint, is Hollywood Brown. And I hate saying it because I don't think he's very good. And I might have to eat my words at some point if he keeps playing the way he's playing. But he's been open. I rewatched the game. He was open all game. Even when he didn't get the ball, I would still be like, oh, like, there he is. He's there. He's open again. And he just didn't get the ball. But, like, he was open that entire game and just sitting in spots when they were in zone. He would just find that spot in the zone and just sit there. He's so fast when he gets the ball. And these Lions cornerbacks, they've already lost their 2 top cornerbacks. They lost Jeff Okudah, who was their first-round pick from not this year, the year before. And then Ifeatu Melifonwu, he was their second cornerback, and he got hurt in the Green Bay game. So if Okudah is definitely out, if Melifonwu is out as well, now you bring in a bunch more unexperienced cornerbacks against this team. I think you're going to see deep play action, ball getting launched down the field because they're so worried about stopping Lamar in the run after what happened with Lamar last game. And that's going to create big plays down the field for someone like Hollywood Brown. I think he could have a monster game.
Yeah, I love the Hollywood Brown take. 10 targets last week, 2 red zone targets. I think you make a really good point. Like, they're going to be doing everything they can to stop the run and get beat over the top very easily. Jon Kelly, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I really like Lamar here. Lamar, I mean, I'm a big Lamar guy in general, 7.8K. But to your guys' point, like that's why I like Lamar so much is because he's either going to beat them with 100 yards rushing and a couple touchdowns, or they're going to be so focused on the run to where Hollywood Brown's going to pop off. Mark Andrews, who's cheaper now at 5K, he might catch a touchdown or two. Like, the floor is just so high for Lamar Jackson in this spot. Like, how do they not score 4 touchdowns here? It's just a matter of where do those touchdowns come from? And I like the run game as well. Tyson Williams, I think he's 5.8K. Detroit's been one of the worst teams against running backs, like you guys said, not just through the first 2 games this season, but that's dating back to the last couple of years. Like, they've been bad against the run for years now, and it's just not getting any better. So, I like the Baltimore side quite a bit. On the Detroit side, because we didn't really mention Detroit much, I think there are some cheap pieces here. If you are going to go that route, it feels kind of scummy, but Cephas had a decent amount of volume, 3.9K. I don't know if I love it, but he's certainly worth mentioning. And then the rookie St. Brown, 3.3K. I know he hasn't really had the usage quite yet, but he's just super cheap for an offense that really doesn't have many weapons or many play after the or run after the catch type players. He could be a guy that maybe gets there as a cheap option as well.
Yeah, I like those calls. Cephas very good possession. He's slow as shit, but his possession receiving, like how he's like bodies guys. I really like him as like a young player. I just wish he was a little faster, but definitely can make those tough catches. I for one, just Hawkinson down at 5,200, I think is interesting. He's going to get a ton of targets. So they're just going to keep. There's no one else really to throw to. They're just going to keep peppering him. I don't mind that, and I think DeAndre Swift is going to go overlooked too in this situation, just because they're playing Baltimore, and everyone kind of gets the idea that Baltimore is this great defense. But Baltimore's like not like DeAndre Swift. He's getting the targets. He's got the game script, and then Baltimore, like the front seven, hasn't been getting to running backs like we're used to seeing. So I don't mind Swift at 5,800. Like, I think it's a really good price tag for DeAndre Swift this week. That's pretty much my 2 takes. Can we double? Like, I'm never one to double stack Lamar just because his yardage props usually around 180, and it doesn't really allow you to get 2 receivers to the bonus. But this Detroit defense is atrocious. Any thoughts that you can kind of double stack Lamar? I don't usually do it, but Marquise Brown, maybe Andrews. I don't know.
See, I would think the reverse and say most people won't normally do it.
No, that's what I'm saying.
The unique way to build the Lamar lineup is to double stack it, actually. Yeah. Where most quarterbacks, the unique way, double stacking is almost always the way people go. With Lamar, though, I think Lamar's like an exception. I will say, too, funny you bring it up, I did win the Yahoo Millionaire Baller, whatever they called it, 2 years ago, doing this exact strategy, stacking Lamar Jackson with 2 guys. I stacked him with Hollywood Brown and Mark Andrews, and it shipped me on Yahoo for over 100K. But I definitely think you can.
20th 100K win.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't keep count. I just play DFS and try and keep it rolling. That's the goal.
Yeah. So that's the thing is like I can't bring myself to ever stack. It's always a skinny and like at most 1. I just don't want to. But I think you might be able to get this Detroit pass defense. Like I think it's pretty shaky.
It's also a spot where, like, we all like the running backs here for Baltimore. Like, you're going to get extra leverage, not just for double stacking, but you're going to get leverage against the run game if all the touchdowns end up coming through the air.
I want to see where Lamar's yardage prop comes in this week. It hasn't been posted yet on DK. Interested to see where his passing yardage prop is this week. I think that pretty much covers this game. Getting into the 405 games. Miami at Vegas, like I have no interest in anything. 45-point total. Both teams are pretty much atrocious. Any Waller love? Who am I on? Jon Kelly or JSU? JSU, I'll go to you.
Sorry,
Reggie. What's up, boy?
I got Reggie.
How you doing, Reggie?
Say hi, buddy.
You cut his nuts off. That's
his nuts are gone. But
the poor guy.
Poor Reg.
He's still the same, though. He didn't change. So all those stories about cutting your nuts off and they change, I don't know if I believe it anymore because he's the same dog. So I don't know. Still feel bad for him.
Maybe just lied to the girlfriend and said you clipped him.
Yeah. No, didn't lie. She wouldn't let me lie. I tried. I tried to say, can we just
try to save Reggie's nuts? That's all you can get.
That's it. I did my best. Sorry, buddy. But from the Raiders, what are we talking about? Raiders, Dolphins?
Yep.
Yeah, Raiders, Dolphins.
Yeah. So I do think both tight ends are actually in play. Yeah. Tua's out, but I still think Mike Gesicki's in play. You saw the snap counts go back up. They said something in week 1 about, I forget who the offensive lineman was out, and they wanted Smythe in more to block because they weren't like, happy or too much trust in the offensive lineman. So that's why Gesicki's snap count from week 1 to week 2 was really low in week 1. And then in week 2, it went to 60-something%. So I would expect that stays right there. But it does worry me a little with Tua out, and then Derek Carr kind of banged up. But I will say, Bob, I think I've been one of the bigger Raiders talk-up guys in the industry. And I said this before last year, where I always thought Derek Carr was a little underrated from the standpoint that people always shit on him and people always talked up whenever he did anything bad, he would get crushed. And just like the first game in the first half, he didn't play well in the first half. Everyone was killing him. Oh, he's so bad, blah, blah, blah. He comes out in the second half. He plays well. And then after that, people are just talking about how bad he played in the first. Oh, he could have played better in the first. It's like, no, give the dude props. He won a game against a team that they weren't supposed to win against. And then next week, everyone thinks, oh, it's going to go back to normal. They're going to Pittsburgh. They're going to lose. And they win. It's like, okay, when are we going to ever give this guy props and just say, like, you know what? He's a solid QB. Like, I'm not saying he's anything special, but he's just solid. He's had a few years in the Gruden system, so maybe he's starting to understand the system a little bit more, which happens with quarterbacks. I don't know why people don't look at this guy when they watch him and say, he can make all the throws. Like, what, he's a solid quarterback. You can win with that quarterback because you can win with Derek Carr. I think they're starting to prove it.
I think you can win with Derek Carr too, and I think it's like his rookie year. He showed a lot his rookie year, like his ball placement, especially on those fades and back shoulder throws.
He throws a pretty deep ball too, Bobby. Does. I will say, like, that's the one thing I always thought he did well was he has nice touch on his deep passes. We'll see now.
I don't hate Derek Carr. Obviously, he played a great game last week. The bomb to Henry Ruggs. I think Henry Ruggs and Waddle are probably the two guys that I have the most interest in this game. Like, just, I don't know, maybe Waller, but Henry Ruggs and Waddle just for the break. Like, they can, obviously in GBPs, burners can.
How much Henry Ruggs in best ball you got, Bobby?
I don't have more than you. I don't have enough. I don't. You have much more Henry Ruggs than I do.
Oh, he's my highest owned player.
Yeah, I don't.
He's my highest owned player in best ball. Yeah. So John's on him.
Oh, big time. I was going to say, like, I love the Raiders talk here. That's my highest owned stack in best ball. Every single time late, I was getting Derek Carr as my backup, and then I would get Ruggs and Edwards. I have so much Raiders double stacks, single stacks, like Ruggs and Edwards both. And Edwards is the other guy who I was going to throw out there, 3.8K. He's just really cheap. Like, I know Ruggs is going to be the deep ball guy who can get there on one play, but I think Edwards has the ceiling as well, and they're both very affordable. But that's really the extent of my interest in this game is just on the Raiders side between Ruggs and Carr. I think Waller's a little expensive. If I'm going to pay up that high, I'll probably just find the extra $1,000 or so to get to Kelsey.
That's good. Now we know we can root on our Raiders best ball teams together. I don't have as much Bryan Edwards maybe as you do, but I You can ask Bobby. I literally made a point in almost every draft to get Henry Ruggs. Like he's the perfect best ball player.
He's just
literally the perfect best ball player. You would never want him in seasonal because he's going to have the really high weeks and the really low weeks, and you're going to kick yourself when you don't play him and he goes for 30, and when you do play him and he gives you 8, and you're going to be like, what the hell? I can't get this guy right. Where in best ball, you can just, hey, I'm going to take my 4 or 5 weeks, maybe 6 or 7 if the guy goes nuts this year, where he just smashes, and I'm good with that.
No, yeah, he is definitely the perfect best ball. I don't hate Bryan Edwards either, John. I think long-term for his career, he's going to be a good player. I definitely like Bryan Edwards. Not for this week, but overall, I think he's going to be a good player and possibly this year. Jets-Broncos. Jets have a 15 implied team total, so we're not spending a lot of time on the Jets. Broncos, I think JSU is going to have a little bit of to talk about. 41.5 is the total. JSU, give us your Bridgewater take, the one you gave me the other day.
Oh, my Bridgewater take. Well, one, I think the Denver Broncos D is about to demolish this Jets team at home too. They finally get to play at home, Bobby, in Denver. Oh, it's going to be a tough scene, I think, for Zach Wilson. But the Teddy Bridgewater take is, I think the dude is trying to prove something where he wants it. He wants to throw the ball. He wants to score touchdowns. He wants to show people that, he got looked over too much and he can be a starting quarterback. It's it. Exactly. Yeah. And if he doesn't do well with this Denver team, with all the talent they have in Denver, even with Judy gone, they still have a ton of talent on this team. And if he can't win and do well or just succeed from a quarterback standpoint with this team, it's probably it for him. And especially with Drew Lock, someone who I believe is a decent quarterback, kind of waiting in the wings. The last thing he wants is mid-season him having to turn his job over to Drew Lock. He might never see another job again if that happens. So he knows that. I think he's trying to come in and just really trying to show people he can, make all the throws and stuff. And I think we're seeing it. They're throwing the ball more than I thought when they get down in the red zone. A lot more. Like I was expecting this team to be really run heavy, but especially when they got into the red zone area. And he's been throwing the ball a lot more than I thought. Might be a mistake by me with, a lot of my Javonte Williams and their running back love in general. But we'll see.
Javonte Williams is good. Like, he's going to be a good back.
Did you see that run where he, put his hand on the ground and he got hit by, 5 people and he somehow stayed up through the whole thing? I thought it was, the best run all day.
Williams in this scenario.
He gets to face his old teammate, Michael Carter, on the other side.
Yeah, Michael Carter got the good coach speak, too, this week from Salah.
Too bad he's got the bad matchup this week.
Yeah, it's tough defense. Yeah. Jon Kelly, where your thoughts lie in this Denver Jets game?
Yeah, I pretty much have no interest on the Jets side. No surprise there. I think you can look at the Denver side, like you guys said, Noah Fant's a stud. Cortland Sutton's a stud. And I'm glad you guys brought up Javonte Williams. He's a guy who I've been trying to be early on this season just because he's been cheap. Over on Super Draft, his multiplier has been 2x. So I've been trying to get the Javonte Williams game and get that 2x multiplier. Maybe this is the spot against the Jets. But just in general, he's a guy who, like you guys said, talented. I know he's going to pop off one of these weeks. It's only a matter of time until they start giving him more work than Melvin Gordon. But that's really the extent of my interest is Javonte Williams, Cortland Sutton, and Noah Fant. And I really don't have any interest on the Jets side.
Yeah, definitely like the takes of Cortland Sutton, Fant, and Williams flop lag. Sutton's a baller, man. He's just a good player, taking Judy out of that offense. Another guy I don't think you can overlook, especially for a deep bomb. KJ Hamler's fast, man, and if they have to throw it, he's down at 3-6. I don't know if he's leveraging tournaments off anyone. The game script doesn't. They would likely not be inclined to throw it. So, but they have all the weapons around Bridgewater, and like JSU hit on the top, Bridgewater's trying to get his. He's trying to get paid again. And he's trying to show that he belongs. So I think there's some incentive there. On the Jets side, absolutely horrendous. I have no interest. Feel bad for Zach Wilson. Want to see him do well. I think he's a good quarterback, but I don't know. We'll see. That's pretty much it for Jets Broncos for me. Buccaneers and the Rams with 2 games left. Bucks have a 28.5 implied team total. Rams 27.5 totals up to 56 from 54. Jon Kelly, I'll lead it off with you. Where are you going in this game?
Yeah, so I said before there's 3 marquee games on the slate. So it was KC, Chargers, this game, and then the next game, Seattle, Minnesota. So I think that's where the majority of ownership is going to come from. Obviously, you can look at both sides of the football here. Antonio Brown was placed on the COVID list. So I think that's the notable news here is that, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Gronkowski, they're going to be the 3 key guys. I'm not so much interested in trying to figure out who's going to replace Antonio Brown because I think the usage is just going to be more concentrated on those 3 guys. So that's the extent of my interest on the Tampa Bay side. On the Rams side, Henderson's still pretty cheap, high total game. I know it's a terrible matchup. Tampa Bay is very good against the run, but we've seen him get a little bit of usage in the passing game as well. I don't hate it if you're just stacking this game. Cooper Kupp obviously had the massive game last week. He's going to be very popular, I'm sure. But yeah, I think this is a good game to target on both sides, but definitely more interested on the concentrated usage for the Bucks for me.
Yeah, I like those calls. Like I honestly, for me, I really like Godwin. I think he's going to be a linchpin for a lot of people in construction, especially with Brown and the COVID situation. JSU, what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, it's interesting. You got a 56. Was it 56 total in this game?
It's up to 56.
Yeah. And you had 2 teams that coming into the year were pretty much known to have 2 of the better defenses, or people to think they had 2 of the better defenses. And we got a 1-point spread and a 56 total. I mean, from a DFS standpoint, everyone's going to look at that and love that, right? So Vegas thinks it's going to be a close game, high total. It's going to be interesting to see what people think. I would assume that Vegas always wins out totals. You don't know, I'm sure the sharp guys are going to be on this game a ton. You don't know if some people might look at the defenses and just be like, oh, these are 2 good teams. But I'm assuming people are going to be heavy on this game. Can't argue with it. It's probably going to be a decent game that pops off because even though the Rams have 2 really good defenders, as a whole, this Tampa offense is just really good. So I think both teams will be able to move the ball. The good thing about playing against the Bucs too, when you talk about their defense, is you already know coming in the game you're not going to run the football. Yeah. I think to sharp coaches, that's advantage them because they just know, okay, this is where their weakness is, and we just need to attack it. If you run up the middle against the Tampa Bay Bucs, you're just an idiot. Run on the edge, run away from their strength, which is the 2 big guys in the middle, and then pass the ball. That's what you should be doing. You should not be trying to just barrel into these guys in the middle. It's a terrible strategy. You'll see it with some coaches, and those coaches will completely fail. The smart ones will do the opposite and go away from the strengths.
Yeah, so that's a really good point. And I like with who the Bucs have at running back, Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette. I think this is the week if we want to get ahead on it. We may see a little bit more Gio Bernard. Snap count hasn't been great, but I think he's just going to be involved more because they're going to be trying to get off this pass rush of the Rams, which I don't know, quick dump offs to Gio Bernard, it would make sense. And I remember watching this game between these 2 teams last year, and it was one of the things they really lacked was that pass catching running back to kind of fend off the pass rush from the Rams. I could see Gio and getting ahead on Gio and having some exposure there. Interesting with Cooper Kupp. Like everyone's going to go right back to Cooper Kupp. I don't mind the pivot to Woods or the flop lag of Higby. I think both are very much in play. Just because how the Bucs are going to funnel to the pass, and you would assume someone's going to have to take away Cooper Kupp at some point. I don't know.
If the problem is that Cooper Kupp is just he's so good, he's so quick, and they're going to line him up in all these. You see the one touchdown he had, the first one I think it was, they lined him up in the backfield, Bobby. Did you notice that? They lined him up as the running back in the backfield pretty much.
Yeah, and
he ran a route, like a 30-yard route, and faked outside and made this. No, he faked outside and made the safety fall as he went back inside. Literally one step with his left leg, made the safety fall and just cut to his right, and it was an easy touchdown, and there was no one near him. And people were like, oh, the defender fell down. And then I went back and looked, and I was like, oh, yeah, he fell down. Cooper Kupp literally made him fall down when he made that one little fake jab to the left and then just came inside, and the dude just dropped. I mean, the move was nasty, and Cooper Kupp just might be really friggin' good, and Matthew Stafford just might be even better.
They have to scheme him out at some point, though. Like, someone has to be like, all right, we have to put the brakes on Cooper Kupp. People aren't going to want to go back to Higby.
Did you watch the Cowboys and the Bucks game?
I didn't watch the whole game. Why?
I mean, the Cowboys just did whatever they wanted with the passing game. They couldn't stop CD. They couldn't stop Cooper. They had no answer. I think someone like McVay is going to get.
You don't mind going right back to Cooper Kupp?
I mean, I don't know if I'm going to play him. I'm just telling you that I think it's going to be harder for this team than you think to stop a guy like Cooper Kupp.
Okay. No,
what this team wants you to do is they want to show you fronts that are going to make you want to run the football. And that's what these coaches see. And what these guys do is they'll see
the Rams.
The Bucks. So what they'll do is they'll show you fronts where a quarterback will want to check out of a pass into a run, or right, and be like, oh, we have the numbers to block these guys. And then they'll run it up the gut and they'll get stopped for negative yardage or 1 yard because Vita VA and Sue are just not humans and they stuff everything in the middle. But like, you shouldn't be doing that. You should just be trying to run on the edges or throwing the football, not running in the middle of the Bucs defense, which is where they want you to run. That's what they try and show you.
I think we'll see more like Robert Woods in the backfield and just ways to get him open, get him going in some ways, trying to get him on the edge. McVay's a fake sharp. It's tough at running back for this team, right? Like Darrell Henderson has the rib injury. He plays, he doesn't play. Sonny Michel's not going to be a factor in the passing game, so that just is more of a case that they will probably utilize Cooper Kupp again, how they've been utilizing him. I think Higby's the good flop flag play there, and I don't mind the Woods. I just can't be burnt. I'm so late to the party on Cooper Kupp. It's irritating. Who's OBJ chalk week? Is that what someone said?
Yeah, we talked about that game earlier. As long as he's a full go, I expect him to be pretty chalky at that price.
Is he
but we all kind of like him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if he's got no limitations or anything like that, he should be chalk.
Yeah.
Jon Kelly, any final takes on this Rams?
No, I think we pretty much covered it, but that was a good. I'm glad you brought up Tyler Higby at 4K. You know, if tight end's always ugly. But if you're not paying up for Waller or Kelsey, like in theory, you should like Higby for all the same reasons you liked him last week. Just because he didn't get there doesn't mean that you can't go back there. So
snaps, like it's just Kupp did what he did.
Yep.
All right, Seattle at Minnesota, final game we're going to break down. Seattle has a 29 implied team total. Minnesota has a 27 implied team total. This total is at 56 as well. Who's the final? Who do I go to? I want to JSU. Rob, you finish us off with this. You lead it for this. Yeah.
Come on, Bobby. You got one friggin' job. It's to know who you went to last time. So
I know.
Trade off, and it can be equal.
Even if you don't know, nobody else remembers either. So then you just casually.
I remember. I just want to divvy it up fairly. You know.
Yeah, we'll be okay if you mess up one of these times and you go back to us. For this game. I mean, again, it's going to be one of the more popular games. Dalvin Cook is a great play. Do you think that people are just going to be on him because Derrick Henry ran wild last week? Like, how does that even – or is Derrick Henry too chalky where Dalvin Cook will be way lower owned because Derrick Henry is just going to be massive chalk. Like, I don't know if both guys are going to see a ton of ownership or if it's going to be like half the ownership of one guy. That's what I'm kind of wondering, because if you told me Dalvin Cook's going to be half the ownership of Derrick Henry, whatever it is, yeah, I'm in. Like,
yeah, that's what I'm expecting, but I think he might get steamed up because
I think so too. Because I think what's going to happen is everyone's going to say what we're saying. Derrick Henry's chalk, Dalvin Cook's going to be half, and as we go through the week, it's going to be like everyone starts talking it up, and then that's what everyone does. And by the end of the week, they come in almost close to the same, and you're like, what the fuck? I thought I was getting, like 10 to 15% Dalvin Cook, and I got 35. It's like same as Derrick Henry. So, yeah, I mean, I do think he's a good play. Adam Thielen's just been balling. Like, he's someone who I think everyone should be considering. I know Justin Jefferson is more of like the flashy guy that everyone wants to play because he's younger. He's definitely more talented at this point. But Adam Thielen, just whenever they get close to scoring, he is an option. He is the first option, I swear, with Kirk Cousins, especially with no Big Irv. That was a big thing coming into the year. I don't think people kind of realized how big of a target he was going to be, especially in the red zone, especially off those fake. They love to do those tight end drag when they fake the handoff to the running back and draw everyone one way, and then they run that tight end right across. They love doing that play, and it worked so well because the running game works so well. So, like, you get everyone thinking it's a run play. You get them going one way, and Irv Smith kind of drags across the other way for an easy catch and run for, yardage and stuff. And I think that was going to be open a ton. I think he was going to be a big red zone factor. And people just, with him out, people didn't realize, like, who's the next guy? The next guy was Adam Thielen. He was going to be the number 2 biggest red zone target. And I told Bobby this when we were doing best ball stuff. I was drafting him in the friggin' 5th round or wherever he was falling. I told people, like,
he was falling way too far in best ball.
I was like, this is crazy. Like, I get Justin Jefferson's better, like, talent-wise, but is he 2 rounds better? Like, come on, 2 rounds better? Like, Adam Thielen? The value is in Adam Thielen, like, for this year. I mean, if best ball ran for, like, 3 years, yeah, I'd probably be drafting Justin Jefferson, but it doesn't. It ends at this year. So, like, I don't know. People, that was a weird thing seeing that, but I think Adam Thielen's another really good play. And from the Seattle side, it's Lockett or Metcalf. Jesus, I've been burned with the Metcalf the last 2 weeks. I feel like I should stay my ground and just stick with it. But I will say one thing: Bashaud Breeland is on the left side, and he has given up. He gave up the Jamar Chase long touchdown, which was just awful coverage. He's been attacked both weeks. And then he gave up the A.J. Green touchdown where he just stiff-armed his ass, dropped him, and ran in for like a 6-yard touchdown.
Jamar Chase ran right by Breeland week 1.
Right by him.
By him.
So, and I will say a lot of those scoring plays were on his side. He's really bad. And Tyler Lockett, so far this season, has lined up on that side 54% of the time. They move him around. He plays a little inside. Mainly right and inside is where he plays, but they move him around a little bit. But I will say he gets the most on Breeland's side because Patterson plays primarily on the right side. Breeland plays primarily on the left side. So those guys aren't really traveling at all. So we're going to get him. So if Lockett's lining up the most, it's throwing me off, Bobby, because honestly, I want to attack Breeland. I know for a fact that one guy is going to be, from what we have in the first 2 weeks of data, one guy's going to play more than the other guy on his side. But, we'll see.
I like the Seattle passing game. Just going back to everyone kind of – I don't mind Metcalf or Lockett. We're playing them together. Obviously, they're getting priced up to where it's extremely difficult. Metcalf week, Josh Gillum says in chat. John Kelly, any thoughts on the Seattle passing attack or just this game in general?
Yeah, this is my favorite game of the week. I don't think that's a hot take. This is going to be one that a lot of people look to target, the afternoon hammer. I just think everything you guys said, you can stack this game every which way. Seattle pass catchers, Lockett, Metcalf, love them both. Chris Carson's affordable. He's like 6.4K or something. He's solid. And then on the Minnesota side, like we've seen it through the first 2 weeks, like their defense is not good. They're going to tend to be in shootout games like this. Absolutely love Dalvin Cook. I know you guys hit on that earlier. Cheaper than Henry, but it's not even a price thing. Like I would actually project him better than Henry this week anyway. So I'm just going to play Dalvin. Probably.
He's going like that's. I hope he doesn't, but it seems like he's in.
But to me, he's the best running back on the slate to me this week. So I'm just going to play him and then just get different elsewhere, whether he is as owned as Henry or not. But yeah, and then obviously Jefferson, Thielen, like those are the guys. Jefferson, Thielen, Dalvin. You could stack them up with Cousins if you want, and then on the flip side, it's Russ. Double stacks, single stacks, whatever, and Chris Carson. But yeah, I absolutely love this game. I think I'm going to have a lot of afternoon hammer lineups.
Yeah, these totals both at 56 between the Bucs game and this Seattle game. It's going to be another week where these 425 games, if you're winning early, just be wary of these 425 games. Leave yourself some late swap equity. That's pretty much it, guys. Thanks for tuning in. JSU Rab, Jon Kelly as always. JSU filling in on the fly for us. Really appreciate it. This is JSU's what? How many 100Ks have you won like in your life at this point?
This is the second time you've asked me this, and I told you it's.
He's really pressing it.
I don't count, and I don't even want to know. I just want to keep playing and hopefully keep winning them. That's the goal. That's the end goal, is for people to win money, and that's what I try and give. I try and give the best analysis so I can win money. The subs that I have over at Rumpier Sports, they can win money, and everyone profits. It's tough though. DFS is a grind, and you guys know you play it every day. It's not easy, man. You just got to keep grinding. But yeah, if you want to check out more of the content, we got a ton of shows, ton of content, core plays, playbooks, my player pool every week for football on Sunday, my slate plan, write out exactly how I'm attacking the slate. You can check it all out at Rumpier Sports. Try it out. I guarantee you guys, it's the best bang for your buck when you talk about $80 for every single sport. There is no upcharge when NBA starts and MLB next year and whatever. It's just one price for everything. You get every sport. We got someone for every sport. And outside of WNBA, no WNBA experts. Don't ask me on WNBA. I don't know.
I heard Mangone's a big WNBA guy.
Is Mangone going to take up the WNBA channel?
I heard he was volunteering.
No, I'm going to tell him you said that.
Guys, Heater 25 for RPS right now is the promo code.
RPS Heater 25.
Yeah, hit the like and sub on this video. Jon Kelly, thanks for tuning in. John, shoot out where your stuff's at. You're over at FTN.
Yeah, you can. Best thing to do is follow me on Twitter at Jon Kelly DFS. Like Bob said, he's trying to grow his YouTube. Smash the like button and subscribe. We'll see you guys next week.
All right. Later, guys.